Hey guys, it's Kelly. I'm back with you, and I have a returning guest. We love having her on the station. We love getting to speak with her. I have Karen Chasten here with me. Hey Karen, how are you doing?
Hi Kelly, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. It's so great to have you back on the show, and I'm really excited to talk to you today because we're going to speak about Live Love by Design, the method, and kind of how you came up with it. And so let's get started. How did Live Love by Design come into fruition?
Well, it did take a little while for it to actually formulate, to actually birth, as I like to say. You know, it's all about birthing a new way of life. And when I was a CSO of a publicly listed company, I truly was living in a Groundhog Day days. Every day was the same, and I was always angry. I was, always sort of would fly off the handle over nothing. And it was quite ridiculous. I can remember one day getting an email from one of our managers, and I just fired back to her, and I just said, "How dare you talk to me like that?" And she rang me and she said, Karen, there was nothing in that email that needed that response. What was it? What did I say wrong? And I said, I'll reread it. And when I reread it, there was nothing in the email that warranted that response. Mm-hmm. And it was just because I was so stressed, I skimmed it, and I misunderstood it. And I'm pretty sure a lot of your listeners can relate to that. Like, we're just multitasking, and I don't care what anyone says. Women, you can't multitask, okay? Mm-hmm. No one can multitask. You have to put your focus on one thing at a time. And when you do that, you actually do it more quickly. You actually give it the proper attention, the proper love for it to actually be done and over with, as opposed to trying to do 4 or 5 things at once, which we all try to do. It just doesn't work. And we wonder why it's taking us so long to do everything. Can you relate to that?
Oh, I can definitely relate to that. I know whenever I try to, multitask, it just never ends up going the way that I plan. I feel like I don't take enough time to handle each thing, and it just ends up being messier than when I started.
Exactly. And then I started, and the thing was, I was quite good friends with that lady, and after that, we sort of weren't. There was always like a barrier between us. So through me being like that, I lost a really good friend, which is a shame. Yeah. And, we need to understand our relationships. So after I was corporate and I started on the path that I'm on now, which I like to call the journey to becoming my own best friend, I started to get a lot of new awarenesses, a whole lot of new perspective, and I started to reflect on my corporate days. And I started to reflect on how much easier it would have been if I had been living and loving myself, looking after myself, eating the right food, doing the right exercise, and actually fueling my body so that I could actually do, the day in a lot less hours. Really being focused on what I'm there for, but more importantly, taking time out during the day to regenerate myself. It's as simple as actually sitting in your office for, say, 5 minutes, have your door closed, and just closing your eyes and just breathing. And it's amazing how, if you can do that for 5 minutes. Now, in our bodies, we all have what is called an autonomic nervous system. Mm-hmm. And it has 2 branches to it. There's the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is designed to put you into a state where you can run faster, fight faster, so that it really adrenalizes you. And it was designed when we used to run away from saber-toothed tigers. And I'm pretty glad we don't have them around at the moment.
Yes, I definitely agree.
Yeah, it would be a bit scary, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Oh my God, we're down at the dog park. Oh, there's a saber-toothed tiger. We better start running. But anyway, so our body is actually designed to help us to do that. But when we go into the sympathetic nervous system, all of the blood goes to our extremities so that we can do everything faster. But it's the heightened state that we're only meant to live in for short periods of time, and then we come back into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and restore. And that's where you get rejuvenated back to being your loving self. So you hear both. But at the moment, in the world that we live in, the heightened stress level that we live in, a lot of us are in the sympathetic nervous system 24/7. Now, this causes a lot of issues. For example, when our bodies at the extremities continually, we stop digesting food. So that's one of the reasons why we put on weight when we're highly stressed.
Really?
And if you look around most offices, there's a lot of people who are overweight.
Yes, definitely. You see that all of the time. That is so interesting. I never knew that.
Yes. So that's one of the main things. But the things that a lot of women need to actually understand as well, and you see a lot of corporate women, they are carrying the weight, especially around their tummy and stuff. And that's, so what happens is when you are in adrenaline continually, you produce cortisol. Now, cortisol is not a great hormone to actually have in your body. It's really, it brings a lot of sugar into your body and a lot of stuff. And because you're heightened, you're not processing everything properly. Mm-hmm. And cortisol has a habit of eating away your organs. Okay? So if you have continually a build-up of it. But first of all, you put on the weight, and the cortisol goes to the weight. So even though you might be stressed about that weight, you should actually be thanking it, because that's stopping the cortisol from attacking you. Mm-hmm. And then what happens, which is why a lot of women have troubles with fertility of everything, because we're in that heightened state and we're very much into our masculine, it starts to say, well, I've got to attack some organs. Which ones will I attack first? Oh, well, no, I'll attack the reproductive organs because they don't need them. They're not acting like a female. They're not nurturing. They're not doing all those lovely qualities that a woman does. So isn't this interesting?
Yes, that is very interesting.
I know.
It's so crazy how much our body reacts to these things and things that you wouldn't expect it to react to in that way.
Exactly. And these are the things that we really should be taught at school. To understand your autonomic nervous system, that is really hard to say. I really have to think about that every time I say that, is to actually understand how you can live your body. So when you know you have both and you understand which one you're in and which one you don't want to be in, mm-hmm. For example, you don't want to be in the parasympathetic nervous system where you're all loved out, you're sitting back, you're in the relax and restore, when you have to go and do a big speech. Now, you don't want to be that. You want to be a little bit heightened. You want to be energized, and you want to be able to make sure that you're there for the people. Yes. You don't want to be all sonked out like, you've just all loved up sort of thing. So you need both, but you need to understand which one you're in, and you need to know how to go from one to the other. And your breath can actually help you. So just by breathing in, so say you've been working all morning and you're really stressed and you think, oh my God, I need to calm down a little bit. I just need to rejuvenate myself. So as I said, you can close the door to your office, sit down. If you don't have an office, just go into the bathroom. So you just close the door and then you sit down and you close your eyes. And then what you do is you just breathe. Now, you've got to breathe in deep into your belly so your belly comes out like a Buddha belly, okay? Mm-hmm. So when you breathe in like that, breathe in for a count of, say, 6, hold it for 3, and then breathe out for 9. Now, your exhalation breath is longer than your inhalation breath. And by doing that, you put yourself into your parasympathetic nervous system. So just by breathing out longer than you breathe in, you will put yourself into that rest and restore. Do those, do about 10 rounds of that, and you will be rejuvenated. It will be like you've had a half-hour sleep.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
That is incredible. How did you learn about the effects of these breathing techniques?
Well, it's just through for the last 6 years, I've been in what I like to call Life University. And I've just learned all of these amazing things and these understandings, which I truly wish that I had when I was in my corporate life. because not only would I have been looking after myself, I would have been more responsible for all the staff. I would have made sure that we were all doing similar things. We were all looking after ourselves, because you can't look after anyone else if you're not looking after yourself. So as a leader, if you're not leading your life, how can you possibly lead anyone else? Now, so many times as a leader, we spend our days putting out fires as opposed to doing what we're meant to do, which is creating more for our shareholders, our staff, our suppliers, for everyone. That's what a company is all about. It's about making sure that we're continually growing and continually growing our profits.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if everyone is stressed out and not performing at their best, how can we possibly produce the proper results for our company?
No, exactly. Because if you're just there and you're stuck in your own stress, as I like to say about myself, because I feel like that's something that happens to me. I'm stuck in my own stress, or I'm putting myself in my own way, basically. I know that I can't successfully take care of all of the tasks at hand, and especially lead the people that I am leading as far as in the workplace.
Exactly. And this is how Live Love by Design came all about. So that's what I do now. I go into companies and I help people to actually become the leader in their life. And then through everyone in that company being the leader in their life, they actually can come together with a better focus of collaboration. Now, I know collaboration is a word that's really in at the moment, but not many people understand the true meaning of collaboration. Mm-hmm. And what it is when you come together with someone else, when you know who you are, you know where you're going, and you know where you want to be, right?
Yes.
You understand yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything you understand about yourself. Then another person comes together who is exactly the same, right? Mm-hmm. That's what collaboration is about. You don't need each other, but you're there together for the greater good. And this amazing thing happens is that I'm at a dog park with my dog, and there's a big dog just walked up. I'll keep walking. So what happens is this third energy is created, which we can call the collaboration energy. And through that third energy, that's where we really start to be more, we can be more, innovation can come into it. We can actually start to create more things. We can look at better ways of doing things, easier way of doing things. And because we're not threatened by the other person, we're more open to ideas. We're there for the common purpose. We're not there just to get our own needs fulfilled. Does that make sense?
No, it definitely makes sense. Now, I wanted to ask about, and I hope I'm not interrupting, but I wanted to ask now, because you said, you go into these businesses and you help all of these people. What was the first experience of that like when, you've changed careers, you've gone to being, ahead in these corporate businesses to going into corporate businesses and doing something completely different? What was that first experience like for you?
Well, for me, obviously the first time I did it, let's face it, we're never as confident, we're never as aware, and we don't say things as well as what we say things down the track. So the first time I went into it, I did get a little bit of, nervousness about me. Now, as a CFO, I have a Master's of Accounting. I have a CPA accreditation. So I have all of these things backing who I am, right? Now, as a life mentor, as a life coach, I don't have anything backing me, if that means, as in accreditation. I have my life skills and my life journey, and I certainly have results now that back what I was doing, but initially I didn't. So it's a little bit scary. And it also brought up a lot of, which I'm very grateful for, a lot of, oh my God, these people really need to understand these concepts. I can't believe how diseased they are, how unaware they are. And I was exactly the same. because I wasn't aware of any of these concepts. I thought this is what success means, and this is how a company runs. But it doesn't have to be that way. Why are there so many cancers in the world? Why are there so many diseases in the world? It all comes back to stress. And it doesn't have to be that way. We all think this is the way a company is running. We have to push our employees and we have to squeeze every little last drop out of them. Otherwise, we're never going to make this budget. We're never going to achieve what we want to. It's wrong. It's actually in the stillness, in the quiet times, that we actually become more innovative. The way that we can actually look at things from a different perspective. Now, we're human beings. We're not human doings. Mm-hmm. It's in the being that we actually create and design our life and design the way to do things, a better way to do things. Do you think Steve Jobs created everything by just doing?
No,
Don't you think he had quiet times?
He had to, I'm sure.
He did, and he talks about it all the time. In all of these quotes, he always talks about it's about sitting and looking at things and evaluating things. Now, everything that's been invented was first invented in someone's mind. But if your mind is continually busy, continually doing 4 or 5 things at once, how can any idea not only come into your mind, but grow to fruition?
And I wanted to ask, too, because now we were talking about the idea of multitasking and how it's not a very good thing to do. But I think it's so interesting that when you go on a lot of job interviews or people that are conducting the job interviews, I think a lot of people feel that if they say, I'm a good multitasker, that it's going to be a positive thing for the job that they're going for. Is that something that you've seen in your experience?
Oh, totally. But that's because that company and that person are not into this awareness. Mm-hmm. They don't understand how much more productive you can be when you have your quiet time, when you rejuvenate yourself. Now, let's look at an employee, for example, that comes to work, right, has looked after themselves in the morning, has topped themselves up, done some exercises, done a little bit of meditation, they're dressed, they're ready to work, and they walk in ready to work. As opposed to an employee who has hit the snooze button 3 or 4 times, grudgingly got out of bed, just, had a quick shower, didn't even eat breakfast, didn't even fuel himself up, drove to work, had road rage on the way there, walked in, really angry, really annoyed, and then for the next hour talked about how this person cut him off and yah. Who's more productive?
Definitely the person who took that extra time in the morning.
Exactly. So if you allow your people to do that, and you make sure that even, you do it 3 times a day, for example, say around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, then around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, how much more productive are they going to be? If you start giving them incentives, this is what you're doing today. When you finish it, you can go home because you have done what you need to do. Mm-hmm. How quickly would everyone do those tasks?
Oh, so much more quickly, because people eventually want to get home, so they'll stay more focused and they'll be more proactive.
Exactly. And getting home early, what does that allow you to do? It gives you time to exercise. It gives you time to actually go and shop and buy healthy ingredients, organic ingredients, which also helps your local produce growers. And it also helps you to actually have time with your family. So how are you going to rock up the next day if you've actually done that for a couple of hours as opposed to sitting at your desk, actually doing a quarter of what you should do in an hour? What would that do for you?
It would do so much more. And as we've talked about before in our conversations, if you look at the big picture of how everything you're doing affects everything around you, it always does come back to you as well. Because if everything around you is being affected positively, that's going to have a positive effect on you. So like you said, if things in your local area, if you're able to contribute to that, you're going to see that flourish. You're going to feel more positive. If you're spending more time with your family, those relationships are going to grow. So you're going to feel more positive in that respect. So all of these things really do connect.
Exactly. And I like to say, don't be the person who climbs the corporate ladder to find out that you're either on the wrong ladder or you're there all alone, because you've burned every single relationship on the way up.
Wow, that's a really great way to put it.
And so you think about how many people, you look around at a lot of CEOs, they're on their second, their third marriage, and that's probably not even any happier than what their first one. Why is it? Because they're totally focused on their career. They're not focused on the 4 pillars, which is in the Live, Love by Design. And so the first pillar is all about you. The second pillar is all about your relationships. The third pillar is all about your expertise. And the fourth pillar is all about your wealth creation. Now, many times people focus on the wrong way around. They focus on wealth creation, then they look at their career, then they think, oh, well, if I get a few relationships along the way, that's pretty cool, and I'll put me last. So that's where it doesn't work, because you drift away from the real you. And when you drift away from the real you, life doesn't work. It may for a little while, but something is going to happen to make you go, wait a minute, you're the only person you are going to spend your entire life with. Mm-hmm. So why are you putting yourself last? Why are you giving up on your dreams? And why are you chasing this shiny, shiny object, which is really giving you very little satisfaction? Do you really want to be the richest person in the grave?
Yeah. I mean, I know that's what a lot of people strive to be, but you're not going to be very happy if you're just going through it in a way where you're not taking care of yourself.
No. Like, how many houses can you live in? How many cars can you drive? Seriously, you can only live in one at a time and drive one car at a time. So why are you focused on that? Why aren't you focused on living your best life and living the most amazing life, having the most amazing experiences, having the most amazing relationships, truly loving the relationships where you actually sit and listen, or you're actually happy to sit and just be with each other. You don't even have to talk.
No, just
you
being
can just,
present.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How many times does that happen? Like, just to sit and be, to be a human being, as I keep saying.
Yes.
So that's what I love to do, and that's what I just think is so totally cool. And I really do, even though I'm making a small little impact, I really want to make more of an impact. So if any of your listeners are actually going, oh my God, that's my life, and I don't want that life anymore, how do I actually design a proper live, love, way of life? Well, actually get in contact with me and I will show you. Or even just download the Live, Love by Design book. There's a PDF copy you can download for free on my website, livelovebydesign.com. Download the book and then reach out, because do you know what? It's time for all of us to start assisting everyone else to understand these concepts. Can you imagine the world when everyone understands this concept? They know who they are. They know where they're going. They understand themselves physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Emotionally is the most important one. To understand why you feel that way about certain things. Why does that person trigger me? What is it about that person that really gets me going? And it always comes back to you. There's a shadow side in you that maybe needs to be healed. There may be some aspect of them that you either like or don't like, and you think you don't have it. Well, I'm telling you now, if you notice something about someone else, it's inside you. So figure out what it's about and heal it, so that then you can move on and then you can grow exponentially. It's unbelievable when you focus on life from this perspective.
And I think, too, what makes your program so amazing is that, you know, this isn't something that you just decided to teach people. It is something that you found within yourself, something that you found in your life needed to be fixed, needed to be changed, and you figured out what was the best way to do it. And this is something that works successfully for you. So you've taken it and you've decided to share it with people. And that's what I think is so amazing about Live Love by Design.
Oh, thank you, Kellie. And I have to admit, you know what? I've made the recipe that nothing is original in our world. I've taken a little bit from here and a little bit from there and a little bit from there. And that's what the idea is. This is what life's about. And it's really about when you decide to design your live, love way of life, you've got to throw everything out. Mm-hmm. And you've got to go, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to see what beliefs I have that are actually working for me and what ones aren't. I'm going to question every single concept of my life. And it's not easy, believe me. A lot of demons come up. But it's about working through those demons and understanding those demons that makes you go, this is who I want to be. This is the way I truly want to live and love my life.
Well, Karen, I want to thank you so much, as always, for coming on the show today. And listeners, again, you can find more information about what we've spoken about if you go to livelovebydesign.com. And you can also go to Karen's website, which is karenchaston.com.au. So, Karen, thank you again for coming on. I always love talking to you, and I think this was a great topic for us to talk about today.
Thank you, Kelly. I love sharing this information. Obviously, I'm so passionate about it. I wish I had it when I was 20. Oh, my God, how great life would have been. Not that I've had a bad life, but it just would have been better.
Well, now you have all this experience to share with everyone else, and I know we're all very grateful for it.
Oh, thank you. You have an amazing evening.
You too, Karen. Take care.
Bye.